see this one. Yeah. So basically, Excel can do, we are going to be using Excel, although it has a lot of limitations, but at least if our data set is not that big, we can always make do with Excel. So today is just more like an introduction to what we'll be doing. Some of the lesson objectives for today is more like what can Excel do for us. So we'll also be learning, like I'll basically introduce you to all the tabs we have there, then introduce the ribbons, and we'll illustrate one example of what we can achieve with Excel, and also come back to this concept of data type. So now Excel can be used for numerical analysis. We can use it to analyze a data set that is in numbers. Let's say students score. If you have an exam and you want to grade students or you want to analyze to see how many persons performed there below or above average, those are the kind of things we use Excel for. We use them to create charts. You know, while we are dealing with SQL, we're not able to create a visualization of charts to give a visual view of what's going on with our data. We use it to manipulate text. We can also use it to access other data. What that means is we can connect Excel to our database and pull up data directly from there, or even write like we can set up our Excel such that it monitors our database automatically. So whatever fits the database, be it a web app, a mobile app, or wherever they are getting their data, as they are getting their data, both our visualization on our figures in Excel will start changing accordingly once you set it correctly. We can also connect it to CSV, external resources, and databases running on cloud. So we use it to create graphical dashboards, graphics and diagrams, and also to automate some complex tasks. Some complex tasks is just like I told you, you can connect it to the database and have it monitor some KPIs for you. That's maybe you're interested uh, in knowing the total amount of sales over time. So you can leave it. If you open it today, it will give you a figure. But as people keep interacting with your application, which is of course feeding your database, those figures will keep changing. So automatically you're not recalculating them each time you come back. It's just doing it on its own. So briefly, I'm going to introduce us to the Excel interface, which is what we have here. If you don't have Excel installed, the one I have is a cracked version. I was just using the one that runs online, but recently I went to Ikeja and they gave me a crack. So you can just go to 360 or download 360, Microsoft 360. Is it 365? I think 365. Then sign up with them. They'll open an Excel for you. I think I'm already signed up.
Turn off
They'll
that
just
AC.
give,
Oh,
is it?
no, sorry,
So
sir.
you can follow along from there. The only disadvantage is just like what I told you. You won't be able to, you might not be able to run it if you're not online. But if you have a means of getting that crack version, you can get it. It's just too heavy. I think this thing is up to 5 gig or thereabouts. So it's not something I can share with us, except if I'll find time to maybe host it on my Google Drive. But most times when you put things like that there, try to. So this is what you see if you try to log in. You now see Excel, workbook, etc. So this is Excel in case you're running it on cloud. So you can follow along from there. The interface is going to be exactly the same thing. So you can create a new one. And of course, it syncs with the one I have. But it's like after I did that crack version, I am not able, if I want to run on cloud, it pulls up the one I have locally. But it's exactly the same thing. So let me go back to the one I already had. This one will load exactly the same way. So here we have our quick, of course, Excel or most Microsoft. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're getting you. We're getting you.
Oh, okay, okay. So if you load Excel, come in. One of the things you see is that Excel has what they call tooltip. So that tooltip means if you hover your mouse over an icon, it's going to give you an idea of what you're looking at. Like the whole of this place, starting from here to this point, is called the quick access toolbar. So when you hover over them, it's going to tell you exactly where this belongs. So what this does is just most of the you can customize it to put the one you use there constantly, but Excel on its own tries to think that okay, most of the time you would like to save, you would like to undo or redo. So it will keep all those things here for you. This particular form was not part of it. That was the one that added it, so you can customize it. The next stuff we have is the title bar, which is more like telling you the name of the book, like uh, the workbook we are working on. This is just, if you just create a new one, it will give it a custom distance until you save it. So if I try to save now, maybe I can say Excel, or I can say class one. So once I save this as class one, you find out that this book one now becomes a class one for us. Mhm. So it becomes class one for us. So it's more like the title bar telling you what documents you're working on. Then we have the search bar. So from here, if you know a command or a control, controls are more like all these buttons. So let's say I want to format or I want to get to maybe this summation, and I don't exactly know the group where it belongs to. I can type, if I know the name, I can actually type it here and it will be pulled up from wherever it is. It doesn't matter if it's under the insert ribbon or draw ribbon or whatever. If you can't really trace where it is and you know the name, you can search it from here. So this other one tells you the profile that is signed in. So it's my profile, and these are the Windows control, like just to minimize. So here we have the file. The file button brings us to maybe creating a new button and some customization. That's where you create you create new workbook, move to some other workbook, save, print, control how it appears when you print them, etc. So to come out of it, you just click this back arrow. So all these ones outside the file buttons, we now have the what's it called? Tab list. So this tab list, we have the home, the insert, the draw, the page layout, the formulas, all of them they group together some controls under a ribbon. So this is what we call a ribbon. The whole of this place is called a ribbon. And all these ribbons are loaded with controls that's related controls that we are likely to see on the home tab. So if you move over to insert, that ribbon changes. Like the content of this ribbon changes. So now I have things that are related with inserting either tables or whatever. So we have draw and the page layouts. We'll be getting into them in details. So here you can actually share your work with some other person or have some other person contributes. So this is where you share your work. When you click on share, you can copy link or add some email address that I want to also work on this. Maybe after working, I want
Let's
someone
see
to
your
review
screen
my
again
result.
now.
Okay, sorry about that. Can others see?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, we can see your screen, sir.
Okay. So it could be let's work from your side. So this is
Okay.
where you can also you can present your this thing here. You can also give to maybe a colleague or some other person to review or make some recommendations and remarks. So this is where you do that. If you send the link or you add an email address, the person will be able to open your stuff. So here is the name box. The name box just tells us if you hover over them, just in case you forget the names, just hover so you see the name box as the name. I don't even remember all of them. So if you hover over it, you see the name box. So what the name box does is it tells you the active cell. Like if I move over here, you find out that it becomes D7, C5, etc. So from here we can insert functions. So when you click on this, it pulls up this thing for you, a control for you to select any function you want. So that's what that one does. And we have the formula bar. So the formula bar actually displays the contents of our active cell. This is not containing anything for now, so it's empty. But if we have, let's say, Mike here, we find out that it's now Mike. But if we move away from this active cell to another cell, it changes to match what's contained on the active cell. So let's say here we have Grace. This becomes Grace. If we still move out of there, it's something else, Mike, etc. So here we have the column list or the column letters. So just the way we have in our databases when we are dealing with our tables, this is more like a table where we have rows and columns. So this is row one. You can select an entire row by clicking on the number, row two, row three, and all these rows are composed of columns. So this one is column A, column B, column C. So this place is just like the column numbers, and we have, the column letters, and we have the row numbers. So now, this Excel tells you, like the name of this Excel is just an intersection of what we have on the column and the row. So we have C6 because this is on column C and row 6. The same way this is going to be D8, etc. So we have more than enough columns. I think about 16,000 plus on Excel columns, and we have about 2 million. If I'm not, I don't know the figure. Like I can't be exact with the figure exactly, but we have up to 2 million rows altogether. So that's enough for you to handle at least not large enough data. So that's that. So where we have here is just an Excel. All of these are called Excels. These boxes, they are called cells. So outside that, we have sheets. So this is the sheet, and this is where we navigate from one sheet to the other. So if you want to move from one sheet to the other, this is where you do that. And this button helps us to create a new sheet. And what else do I need to? So this one now tells, so this one controls how our workbook, our work sheets appears. So we can have it this way. We can have it this way. In fact, if you have it this way, this is closer to how it's going to be. Like if you want to print your documents, this is closer to how it's going to appear, having it on this page layout. Then the normal just allows us to have Excel, everything joined together. Then this other one does exactly what we have seen it do. I think it just highlights the active cell. So if you want to zoom in or zoom out, let me come back here. You can either use this button to zoom in. Maybe you want your this thing to be larger, or you zoom down. You can as well, if you're using a mouse, you can as well hold down your control key and scroll up. Scrolling up means you're zooming in, or scroll down. You can also come to view, but I like using the control. Then come to zoom and select. You can zoom 100%, which returns it back to how it used to be. You can use zoom to now give it a zoom factor. Maybe I just want it to shrink to 50. You hit OK, it shrinks it back. You can also give a custom zoom distance. I think it ranges from distance to from 10 to 400. So maybe I can say I want it at 240, 250%, or let's say 240%. Once you hit OK, it will zoom up to that. But coming back to 100% returns it back to normal. So for the ribbons, I don't like having my ribbon like this. Because it takes some spaces. So from here, this collapse ribbon, you can either do Control F1 or use this arrow to hide it. Once it's hidden, what happens is if you come to home temporarily comes up. If you move to insert, it temporarily comes up. But once you click away, it goes back, giving you more room to to have a better view of your data. If you want to bring that back, just click on any of the tabs and come back to this pin. So pinning this will now make it the way it used to look. That's not how I like seeing mine. So what else should I explain? I know most of you are already familiar with this
Sorry, the Zoom key, instead of using the percentage, can you go back to it again?
Okay, that was on view. Okay, yeah, we are here. Hello?
I know about this. You use one method before you use this percentage stuff.
Okay, I said you can hold down your control and scroll up if you're using a mouse. If you're using a mouse that has that's ball roller. If you roll
Oh,
up, it will zoom up. And that's how me I like using mine. So rolling up zooms. Is this zoom out? I think it zooms out, and this one zooms in. Mm.
okay, thank
So
you.
that's what. Yeah. So that's that about the Excel interface. So what? Let me see what I. So that's that. I have also written like this quick access toolbar and some of what they do. You can just go over them. So for the Excel, it runs from A to XFD. Like when it exhausts from A to Z, it starts from AA, AB, etc. So you can do the permutation and see the number of, I think they're about 16,000. And here we have, okay, I was wrong. We have I think 1 million, about 1 million rows in a worksheet. So uh now one other thing to know is when you open a worksheet, it's more like you open a book. I mean, a workbook is more like you open a book, and if you have a booklet, inside that booklet, you're going to be having sheets. So that's also how essay is organized. Inside this workbook, which we have called class one, it can hold as many sheets as we want. Like if we click on this, it gives us sheet two. And from this sheet two, we can just right click. One thing about Excel is you don't need to do a lot of mental work. Most times when you click on a tab, it will give you a tooltip. If you right click, it's going to give you options on what to do. So from here now, we can just right click. You can also do it other way. You can right click, but this is how I like renaming, and select rename. Then maybe uh we can say others here. So this becomes our other worksheets inside our booklets. So the whole of this is called a workbook. Inside the workbook, we have worksheets. So this again you can rename. So maybe say mm, we can say customers. I just want to model what we had there. So with this now, you can leave your orders here, leave your customers here. You can also rearrange by dragging. So you can add more. You can also change the color, still right click, tab color. Maybe you want your customers to be colored blue or navy blue. You can do this. So you easily identify which is which. You can do same with this and maybe give it green and that becomes green. Okay, that was the wrong distance. So you can have as many as you want. And that's where this navigation bar becomes useful because with this now, you're able to navigate from one to the other. Once we have more than enough sheets, like it gets to a point where this space is not enough to carry them, some of them will start hiding. So this becomes very important, moving from one to the other. But you can always click on it to make it the active cell. So this is just for our navigation. Maybe you want to move away to, you can do this. Maybe use your arrow key to move as far right as you wish. You can move as far right as you wish. You can also, if you're using a mouse, tap on that roller and move it this way. So once you move it this way, it starts moving that way. You can also come back with this just for navigation. You can also move down and move up. So when you tap it again, that this thing disappears and you move the normal way. So what next? So with that now, you see this our is this one, it should be horizontal scroll bar becomes active because we've moved way to the right. So you can now move it back. So this one also functions to move up and down. So now let's do an illustration of some of the things we can do with our Excel. On this view, you can also control how you want to view it. Like if you don't want it to be showing grids, which in most cases you want it, you can remove this grid so everything becomes white. But once you click on anywhere, it still gives you exactly what you want. Then for the formula bar, in case it's taking much of your space, you can hide it. I like seeing it. So let's start. Let's do one illustration and go. So here we can have just to enter data, our data into our Excel sheets. We can do something like this. Let's say we want to launch a marketing campaign and you want to show to maybe the stakeholders what possible growth we can have after doing the campaign. We can do something like this. Maybe move down to a sheet and do months. You're trying to tell them that. So here we can have projections or projected sales. I have projected sales. Then so to enter any data into an Excel, you just make it active and type it in. So with this now, I can have something like maybe January. Let's say on January, you can either type it completely or just pick the first three alphabets. Excel will complete it for you. So let's say on January, we are expecting to maybe have $90 worth of sales. And you want to think that it's going to be growing by 10% if you keep doing your marketing. Then we can have January here. And look at this. If you look at this, we have a square under it, and we have this thing, the perimeter, which is more like a rectangle. So if you hover over this square, click and hold down and drag, what you're doing is that you auto-filling. Like Excel will help you and fill what you already have. I don't know if you got that.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you
No.
keep dragging, okay, this is what I did. From this point, I already have January. If I click on this square and drag right, if you hold down your mouse and drag right, it's going to fill sequentially. It's going to fill that sequence. So we have January, February, March, April, up to the number of sets. When it gets to December, it will start again. It will repeat itself. It will start from January again. The same way you can also do the same thing downwards, and that's what I want to do. So it will keep repeating itself. It will keep filling it for you, but that's not what I want. So you can also do the same thing downwards. Excel will always fill these numbers for you up till December. I don't know if that person now gets it. Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have been able to fill this with the data. We have been able to fill it sequentially, and we want to propose that if we launch a marketing or if we start doing one promo, our sales is going to grow by 10% each month. So you're going to have something like 90,000 here. And for here, you just say equals, I want to say that this is going to grow by 10%. So if you want to say that this is going to grow by 10%, when you click on this, I just typed equals, then I clicked on this. So clicking on this will fill in this. We now have C4. You're going to say multiplied by 110%. So this is just a small calculation. If you do this, I don't know if the formula bar will always show you how you arrived at that. You can space them out. The formula bar will always show you how you arrived at that, while the Excel will give you the actual value. So what have we done? We just said whatever we have in C4, we will get a 10% increase on it. When we say 100%, we just have exactly the same figure all over. So 100% means we have 90. If you add the 10%, it's going to calculate the 10% and add to it. So, okay, that was here. We go back and say 10% and enter. So once you say enter, it will calculate the 10% increase. Of course, the 10% of 90, is it 9? Okay, 90,000 is going to be 9,000. So, but because this is a formula, we can copy this formula down the same way we did for this stuff. If we pull it down, I'll show you how to put down a constant. If you are interested in constant, it will calculate 10% increase. So this is now 10%. This is now 10% of this, and this is now 10% of this. So consecutively, it will keep increasing itself for calculating the 10% increase of it and returning it back. So what we did to pull that this thing was just to still hold down on this crosshead and pull it down. So that is different from when you want to highlight. If you want to highlight, you are not placing your mouse over that square. Like what I did now, did not. If I do this, I'm not filling anything. I'm only highlighting. So if you want to highlight, you just click this, drag, it highlights. But if you want to fill in, you make sure you're on this crosshead. So now, looking at this, you know that this is in this cell, but there's an overflow. Like this is not enough to carry it. So one of the things you can do is to come to this the boundary between C and D and pull out. Otherwise, a shortcut can also be to double click on this boundary. If you double click on it, it will do what? It will expand to fit to the size of the largest entry you've given. Like in the cell, if we had something way bigger, let's say we have something like this, and I click on the boundary, it's going to expand to accommodate the biggest entry. So that's not what we want for now. I'm going to remove that and do exactly the same thing. So you can either drag or you can double click. So when you double click, it comes back to normal. Do you have a question as to how we got all of these? Does anyone have questions? So
No
now,
questions for now.
yeah, you guys know, most of you know Excel already. So now, if we want to start doing a little analysis or to start making our this thing look beautiful, what we do is to do what? We highlight everything. So let's say now, as it stands now, I can't filter by anything. I can't do any filtering. I can't do whatever. But if I want to do that, I'll have to first of all convert this to a table. So once you highlight it, you go back to insert and insert a table, not a pivot table. You insert a table. So it will select the range. The range is from this B3 up to C15. Like that, what it's trying to say is the beginning of this to this. That's the range of the cell. So you say okay. With this now, we have a table. And of course, the table is now looking a little bit beautiful. So now we can have some control over this data. If you click on this, we have what we call contextual tab. Contextual tab are tabs that come up when you're dealing with, like they come out on context. If you're dealing with a table, there's a tab with related controls for that table that will appear. So once you click out, you see that disappears, but clicking anywhere within the table gives us this tab control. So with this tab control, we can change the look and the feel of our table. Let's say we want this table to start looking like this. We can go down, select anyone we want, how we want it to look, You have a lot of options. You could want to do this. Okay, someone is trying to say something. Or maybe it's Mike. So now with this, you can decide that you want to be doing your filter. You can decide that you want to format. Like if I don't want to have filter, you see this all of this now. Why is my mouse not moving well again? With this now, I can now select what I want. Maybe I just want to have this value that is this. If I say okay, no, okay. I have to first of all unselect others. I'm coming. So with this now, you select exactly what you want, and that's the value that will be displayed. So when you convert to a table, you now have the option of now sorting. You can sort it, you can filter, you can do whatever you want. Same thing for the months. So let's say we still want to be seeing everything we've had. Everything comes up again. And what again can you do to that? Maybe we can decide to see summary. All of this. Maybe we'll decide to see how many the sum of all the cells we are going to have. You're going to include the where is this stuff? Total row. Once you click on total row, the total row gives you a summation of all of these. And you can also change what this total row is doing for you. So you can also decide to format the first column differently. That's someone's mic is on. You can say first column. It gives it a darker look. You can also remove it. And that's just it. Like you have controls on how to work with this. So do we have questions or we should just fire on?
How do you arrive at this color from the from our what the column is?
From our data sets.
Yes.
Okay. This was, you know how we got here?
Yes.
Okay. We got here by calculating all of this now. So how we got there is just to highlight all of the table, go to insert table, and say okay. So if we do that, it turns it into a table and gives us some more controls. So like I said, once this is active or any cell here is active, it gives you this contextual tab, which gives us a ribbon, which controls that relates to our table. If you click away, that disappears. So from there, you can now further customize our table to look how you want it to look. Like if you don't like the way it appears, you can come to this table style. If you click on this, it will give you a lot of options. You can select this option. You can even use your hand to pick a color you want. Maybe you want it to look like this. You pick anyone you like, anyone that looks nice to you. So we could want it to look like this. And that's not all. Maybe you want it to highlight the first column for us and make it darker. You come to this first column and click first column. So it gives you that. If you want to be able to filter on any of the columns, you allow this to be checked. If you uncheck this, you see unchecking it removes that our filter. If we check it, we have something that looks like a drop-down list that allows us to select what we want. So from this filter, you can say, I want this row, I don't want that row. Everything is selected. If everything is selected, it shows all the rows. If you want just a particular row, the row with 90, you can say, okay. You can also say something like this. So that gives us a lot of controls. You can still select everything like we had it before. And now say number filter. When you click on number filter, this is now going to give you all those queries we are writing in our workflows. This is where you can say, I want the one that is greater than. When you select greater than, you say is greater than, let's say anything that is greater than 200, 200. That was 90. $200 and say okay. So with that now, only the values that are greater than $200 will be qualified to show up on our data sets because that's the filter we've applied. When you select on number filter, you can say the one that is equal to, but equality, you can exactly do this from here. You can also between values, just the idea of what we've done before will help you when it comes to this. So, but let's return it back to the way it used to be. If you uncheck this, mm, I should be able to uncheck this now. I don't want to. Mm. So if you clear all the distance, you have our result set back. But that's not all we are able to do with Excel. So the essence of doing this is just to show you that you can get a data. Of course, we are calculating this data normal. We are supposed to pull it from a real life occurrence where things are scattered, then you start analyzing them. So with this now, we already have we've been able to put some data here. Maybe we want to visualize it because most times when you are trying to show a stakeholder that will start from this and will get to this, it might not appeal to some of them or to some persons who don't like numbers. I don't like number that much. So if you want to do that, you still go back to your insert, but before inserting, you have to select your table. You still go back to insert, but this time around, you want to insert a chart. So we have recommended charts. If you know exactly the chart you want, you can go straight to it. Otherwise, we can come to recommended charts where Excel itself tries to show you likely visualization that fits your data set. So maybe once a line chart, which is just like our graph we used to plot, or want this one that shows us all the areas, how it grows. But I think I like this. You could use pie chart or whatever. So selecting on this immediately gives you that chart. So this chart is telling us that on January we had if you look at it very well, we had the 90, if you know how to interpret charts, we had $99,000, etc. up to this point. So if you click on this, if you click back to this, we have our table design, and coming back to our charts gives us chart design. So the same way we're able to control the look and feel of our table, you can also control the look and feel of your charts.
Hello?
So he,
Nothing.
okay, someone wants. Someone's mic is on. So you can move to this. Maybe you want it to look like this, or however you want it to look. You can also switch between maybe once January, February to now appear on this column. So you're going to switch row. Not exactly. It should do that, but it's not giving me exactly. So that's it. Okay, are you referring to me? So that's that. I don't know if anyone has a problem with.
Mr. Jude, mute your mic.
Okay. So I don't know if anyone has a question or problem with how we got from where we were to this point.
Can you repeat the chart?
Okay, the charts is all about that insert. If you want to visualize on the charts, you simply do what? Select what you want to visualize. It's going to be this table. So make sure it's active, then insert. So from this insert, we are going to have pivot table. We are coming back to that as we advance, diagram, etc. So come to this recommended because Excel on its own knows the likely charts that are supposed to fit the data sets you provided. So when you come to this recommended, it brings up a lot of charts for you. You now know how best to visualize your data. Maybe you want to do this. We do that and say, okay. So with that, we now have, you can move any of the items around or even delete it. Let's say you don't want to have this projected cells. It goes, but I want it. So you drag anywhere and position it very well. So with this now, you can explain to like telling them or whoever you are trying to convince that launching a marketing campaign or doing whatever you think you can do to grow our sales. With this, they are better able to visualize what you're saying. That if we are selling, if we sell goods worth 90,000 on January and we continue this campaign, by the end of December, our monthly sales must have amounted up to this. So I think this is more convincing to someone who doesn't like number than just having it the way we had it. So now that brings us to the concept of data type. In Excel, we don't really have that concept of data type like we had it in databases. You can throw in anything into anywhere and it holds it. But for presentation's sake, you can format it to look how you want it to look. Like in this case, no one knows like looking at this, I might not be able to say if what you mean is we are going to sell 90,000 items or we are going to sell a goods worth of $90,000. So to do that, you are going to select this Excel, this thing, and where you want to format. Then come back to from our home, this place that says numbers. If you leave it on general, it's going to look exactly what we have. But if you want it to appear on currency or accounting mostly, that means you want to have dollars. But we didn't like I'm in Nigeria now, so work with Naira. You can change the sign or the currency. We don't have ours, so hitting more currency will give you an option to drill down to whatever you're using or the country is using. So with this, we can move down to where we have Igbo Naira, Ibibio Naira, Hausa Naira, and choose any of them. So once you say okay, this now appears as Naira, and your charts also appears as Naira. So now we have, you're now telling them, like anyone looking at this knows you're talking about money, not the number of cells. You can also format, and if you format wrongly, you're going to have a very different result, and we are going to illustrate that very shortly. But before that, let me see what I'm supposed to do next from our chat book. So all of this part just try to explain to you all those items we have there. I think we are working on data types next. So basically what we have is numbers and text. Then we have formulas and errors. The concept of dates, other stuffs are just presentation and logic. We only have what's it called, text and then values. Values are numbers. Then we have formulas like I showed you. What the value we have there, let me come back to the value we have here is actually a formula, not we didn't throw in any value. We are calculating something from somewhere. The value we have here is a formula. You can also have an error value when you throw in something that is not logically correct. Let's say let me try something. Let's say we want a mic. If we have this, you see, we have an error from here. So this is an error value because it doesn't make any logical sense. We can undo that and have what we are supposed to have. And mind you, once you visualize from a data, any changes you're making directly affects the data. If we decide that here is now going to be 70,000, once we enter it, it shrinks our visualization to match exactly what we have. If we say that this is now, look at this is 70,000, but in presentation, we have presented it as Naira. So this Naira is not part of what we entered. It's just a presentation. What we have there is number. So you can decide that we have 12,000, and that follows suit. It calculates exactly and gives you what you are supposed to have. We are having this linear thing because what we are dealing with is just we know we are increasing by 10%, so it's likely going to look like this. It's not linear, it's curvilinear anyway. If we do more, we are going to see that. So that's it. Now, let's talk about formatting. So we are able to understand like we're able to do the right thing. This is just the concept of data types. Now, I think I'm forgetting one thing I wanted to say when we get here. But maybe when I remember that, I'll say it. So now, okay, let's talk about printing or exporting as a PDF. If you want to print, and I do this is where your presentations come to play. With this, you're just seeing a spreadsheet with rows and columns. But if you now click on page layouts, it's going to give you an idea of this is one page. If we print this or we export this, our visualization is going to, you see, it's cutting it into this another page. So with this, if you set it this way, you are better able to position this very well to give you what you want. Maybe you have to readjust if you must allow all of them appear on the same page to make it fall within this I. From what I've realized, between A and I make up one page. If you're working with what's it called? If you're working with letters, that is 9 cells in altogether. Then for a page two, like horizontally, I think up to I can't really remember. But just to visualize what is going to print or what you're going to export, always come to this page layout and see how it appears. If it appears within this page, you know you're in order. Otherwise, you have to adjust if you want them to appear on the same page. Then again, if you want to print this, highlight your tables. If you want to print both the table and if you want to print both table and charts, you have to be on the table to be able to do that. If you highlight the charts and Control P, you're going to print just the charts and not the table. There are other times you want to present your charts on another sheet and have this on the sheet. So I can move these charts to another sheet and print this differently, then print that differently. So that's that. Doing Control P, if you have a printer, is going to print, but most times you don't want that. Most people want to print as PDF. So just PDF, the way you save, it will generate a PDF for you, which now visualizes your data. But I think I only picked that again. So let's go back and do that. So with this, we are going to have a PDF that will look like this. If you print, it will print that. So you can give it a name. Let's say class 1. Let me just drop it on the desktop so I can easily see it to do this. So that's next. So this is our class 1. You can now share your PDF to whoever you want to share with, and it has your charts and the visualization. So let's talk about the concept of data type. So to talk about the concept of data type, maybe I should just rename. We are on this sheet. You can name it anything, sure. Like I'm just using. So we can just say rename this data type. Data type. I think you have up to 30 characters. You can have spaces around them. So on data type booklets, so like what I was saying, that a booklet is composed of sheets, a worksheets. Like a workbook is composed of many worksheets. So if you move away from this, we don't have anything on customers. We have something on sheets. We can come to data types and enter some data. I can just say unformatted here. Then tab takes you to the next distance. I'll say formatted. Then type of formats, type of formatting. So you know the formatting I applied. So with this now, I can say 1200, then the same 1200, but the presentation is going to make them look different. So let's say here I have, let's say here, I'm going to have a percentage just to tell you what I'm doing. Of course, if I want to make this fit in, what should I do? I should just double click here, the boundary, and double click here. Once you see that arrow, you can double click or you can drag to make it fit. So I'll be formatting this data. I want to format this as percentage. If you format this as they're exactly the same number, but the presentation is going to make them look different. So if I format this as percentage, it will now look different. No. Let me format this as currency, sorry, not percentage. Although that's also, you can also see stuff like, let me format this as currency. So to format as currency, you can just format as currency or you use accounting. So if you format as currency, you now see this now has this is just 12. That was exactly the same value I entered, but just the formatting presents it differently. We now have this comma and dots. And maybe I don't want these decimal places. I can either from this currency, I can either increase or decrease the number of decimal places. So when you click this twice, decimal places are gone. If you want to have more decimal places, you can add as many as you want. So for me, maybe I just want to leave it at 2 decimal places. So the same value, but different presentation. The same value, different presentation. So next we have 0 points. 0 point, let's say 657. We are going to still have the same 0.657. Is that what I'm, okay, 567. Then once to format this as percentage. So after formatting this as percentage, it's the same value, but if we format this as percentage, we now have 57% for this, and we have this for this. So it's all about presentation, not about the distance. So maybe we can also add our decimal places to it once it's highlighted. Okay, that's not okay. Yeah, it comes up. So now we have, because it was 0.67, if we add the decimal places, it's going to, each precision is going to come down to that zero. It's going to give us that. You know what's happened here is that we are having an approximate value, because if we change this, let's say we change this to uh, let's say we change this to 5564, and we apply that percentage. No, it was 0 points. 0 points.
Yeah.
564. So if we applied, what's really happening? So if we apply that formatting, you see this becomes 0.56. What's happening? Because it's doing that approximation for us. So if it's up to 5, it's going to add to it. It's not giving us the exact value, but it's approximating it. So we can also add, we should be able to do this. We should be able to, so we can also add, maybe want to see it precisely to the value it was, we can increase the number of decimal places or reduce the number of decimal places. So that way we're able to see 0.5, we are able to see 56.4%, because that's the value I actually entered. It was no longer this value. So that's for formatting percentage. We can also format dates. Now, the way Excel sees the dates is the first date from a particular year. I can't remember, but there's a particular year where they started counting from. So that particular year is the day one. So let's say we want to have something like 5, 8, or let me just say 3, 4, 8, 7, 8, 7, 1. This is the number. The same number, if you have it as 3, 4, 8, 7, 1, and we now decide to format this, that's exactly the same number. But if we now decide to format this as dates, it now calculates exactly, we can format it as long dates. And if you have this kind of value, what it means is that the cell or the column is not wide enough to accommodate what you have there. So this same value, we calculated it. I don't want to go into the concepts, but we call it a timestamp. So it's a timestamp. That means there's a particular year, there's a particular day that is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. So if you do this, what this evaluates to, if you present it as a date, is Wednesday, June 21st, 1995. So that's this value. It was exactly the same value we entered. But when you now format as dates, it's giving you this value. So that's why your presentation is very, very important in Excel, because if you format wrongly, it's going to give you something very different from what you expected. So here our formatting is date time or just dates. We formatted as dates. There's something that came to my mind I wanted to say. How about formatting as accounting or currency? So let's have a very big value. We can have 1, 2. Okay, fine. Before I forget, if I want to enter this value, there was a time someone is trying to ask. So let's say we have a value of 67 million, whatever, plenty money. And let me copy it, because I copy all of these into this place and decide to present this as what? As money. So what I will just do is to come to this formatting and format it as currency. So from general, you can move it to currency or accounting. So if you present it as accounting, now you see it's presenting it with a dollar sign and giving you all this comma with the decimal places. But the value we have there is exactly the same thing. Remember, our formula bar will always give us what we have here. So the presentation is what varies. So what we've done here is accounting. I think this was accounting. Okay, so we'll move over to formatting a phone number. If we want to format a phone number, we can just say 8032133774. We tab 8032133774, and that's my phone number. So here we are going to format this as a phone number. So I think we have to come to more formats because we don't have phone number given here. So when you click on more, it will give you more options. So you look for what you are looking for. You just trace exactly what you're looking for, and that becomes it. I think this number is not what we want. So we click on special if you can't find it. So on special, we now find the phone number. If you can't find it within the list, you come to special. So if we format this as phone number, you see the formatting is giving it different from this. The presentation is different, but the value remains the same. So this is a phone number. And that's my phone number. We can also format as a social security number or maybe NIN or whatever. So depending on what you want, you can format this as, let's say, 4349. All I'm trying to explain is that presentation makes it look different, and what you have there might kind of be a little bit confusing if you don't format very well. All of them are number if you watch. So this is this number, and we are going to now format again as I think we are going to more and still come to special, then social security, then okay. So with this now, the formatting is different. We can say social security number, then expand. What next? We can also format as a time. Let's say we have 0 points. Now, if you want to format as a time, 1 means 1 full day. So anything that falls between 0 and 1 is a time, a specified time that I'm not aware of. So we can just say 0. Let's say 0.6785. This is a value. If we move exactly this value, Control A C V, Control V. So if we paste exactly the same number and now format as time, it's going to give us something different. So this is 4:12 p.m. and what we formatted is what? Time. So between 0 and 1, 1 means a full day. In fact, 1 and 0 should be exactly the same time because it's more like it's more like a sinusoidal, like it's a repetition. It goes from 0 to it's not it shouldn't be 1, shouldn't be anybody, it should be very close to 1. But you can put as many number as you want. You can put as many digits as you want, depending on the precision you want. So we can also format as a fraction. If you want to format as a fraction, let's say I want to write two whole number. If I write two whole number, let me just say 2.5. 2.5 is the same thing as 2.5 is the same thing as 5/2, right? 5/2. No, the formatting is different. I've formatted this somehow. No, okay. I understand what is happening. There's still another short. This is a shortcut. This is a shortcut to. If you do that, you're writing a shortcut. So let me just say 2.5, which is exactly the same value. I don't want that formatting. So if you format this 2.5 we had here as a fraction, it will give you a fractional value. It will give you two whole number 1/2. But if you don't want to do this formatting from here, you can also, let me write it here. You can also say 2 space 1/2. So you have to give a space between them. 2 space 1/2 if you want to format. If you don't want to do that shortcut, you can do 2 space 1/2. The same way we can do, let's say, if I want to write 7 whole number, 5/6. How do I write it? Sorry. Can anyone help? From here now to write 2 whole number 1/2, I just did 2 space 1/2. So here I want to write 7 whole number 1/2 too. So how do I write it?
7 space 1/2.
Seven
Yeah,
space 1/2.
so we are going to have 7 space 1/2, and it formats it exactly as 7 whole number. So what if I want to format, let's say, you see the value is 7.5. What if I want to just do 1/2? How do I do that?
Once
I don't want to have the whole number part. I just want to have the fractional part.
just put the 1/2.
Mm. we have 0. If we do 1/2, okay, 1/2 does that. Okay, 1/3, it does that. Okay, it's not doing it. You see, when you do 1/2, it's now giving us the other shortcut that I had before, which I told you is a shortcut to date time. So what you do is to have 0 space 1/2. So this is where we have it. If you do 1/2, it's a shortcut to that short date. It's a shortcut to that short date. So it will be giving us that. So that's the fractional. So here we are doing a fractional fraction. We can also have scientific. When we did the standard forms in school, where we can write plenty things and now write it in standard form. Maybe in the standard form, you want to have just 2 significant figures. The rest can go into times 10 raised to power, whatever. We can do exactly that here. So let's say I want to have this in standard form or scientific form. I want to have a plenty number in standard form. So I'll copy this plenty number and paste here. So let's see. So I'm going to expand this. Of course, it's plenty is big enough that itself is already doing that standard form for us. So most times when you have large number, well, let me try to expand this. It's already formatting it to that standard form for us. But let's say we don't have large enough number. No, that's not what I want. I just want it to be formatted as number. So let's have it as normal general. So in general, it gives us what we have, and I have control ACV. So this number, if we format not in general but in scientific form, that scientific form is the standard form. We have this, so it's going to give us a. Was this 1.2 I had? It's going to give us 1.2 e raised to power 00. That's the standard form. It will present it in standard form, making it shorter. And this should lead us into the concept of precision. Excel can be precise up to 15 digits. And 15 digits is very large. I think 6 digits or 7 digits gives us 1 million. 8 digits should give us in billions, right? 9 digits should give us in trillions, and 10 digits should give us in, I don't know what it is, but there's a name for that. So if you yank it up to 15 digits, that's the max Excel can give you precision. What I mean by that precision is if you have something way beyond there, let's say, and in most cases, it doesn't matter. If you have something that is much more than 15 characters as a number, what Excel, did you see what happened? That was not the number I entered. But what it will do is it will count the first 15 for you and replace the rest with 0 for you. So all these places, the remaining parts becomes imprecise. This is large enough number. So anything beyond 15, let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So anything beyond 15 becomes imprecise. It will present it as zeros. So if you want to deal with numbers, it makes sense for you to remain within the limits of zeros. But if you must have anything more than more than that 15, then you have to present it as text. So let's say we still have that our plenty numbers. A way to present it as text, one of them is either to pre-format this cell as text before entering the value, or just prepend it with, you can prefix it with an apostrophe. So once you have an apostrophe, no matter how many you put, it's now looking at it as text. And in text, you see, it appears the way it's supposed to look. And text can take up to, I think, about 130,000 characters or something like that. But it's large enough for you to put plenty characters there. So if you know the number you want to enter is going to be beyond beyond 15 digits, you better present it as text. You either format as text, maybe you format, like I can have this formatted as text before entering the digits. So now it's not going to do what it did for me. It's now a text, or you prefix it with that apostrophe. It will do exactly the same thing. But you should have that in mind so that when you want to perform a calculation with that, you you do your casting, because most times your batches you collect in USA are sent to databases. So whoever is going to be processing it should also be aware what kind of this thing you've done. So that's that about formatting, and I think we should call it a day for today. Let me see if I still have more things I prepared for us. So today I only intended to introduce this concept of Excel and get us to walk around. Okay, we've done number formatting, which is what we just did. So that's what I prepared for today. I don't know if you have if you have questions, maybe you can ask questions how we did whatever we did, or uh, presentation, or just anywhere. And I will also encourage you to, this one no hard like the other one, try and replicate what we've done on your own, because it will soon also get, it's not like it's going to get tough, it's just that we'll keep building on what we know. So when you are missing on the basics, if we now put a load on it, then it will crash. Most times it will look as if you are not following what we are doing.
You can accept you. Mima. Go to your room.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Okay, I'm with you.
From the table you created and the graph you prepared, I want to
Hello? Oh, hello, ma.
this we have inputted those
Okay, ma.
data in the sheet. Hello?
Sorry, can I just take a sec from you? I'll be right back. I'll be back shortly. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yes, I was asking from the place you prepare table and graph. You know, normal after you inputted all those data,
Yeah.
you brought out another table to fill it in. I was asking if it's necessary to put it in this other table. Doesn't mean you can't filter or do any a kind of formatting within outside this table you plotted with it.
You can actually do that without bringing it in as a table, but you lose out on maybe being able to place this. You can do that. You can do that. But this is a faster way to achieve exactly what you were thinking, because this gives you some graphical ways of doing exactly what you'll be doing with that. You can do that. So easily with this, maybe I just want to filter. I don't want to see October. I don't want to see August in this. The table gives you the flexibility of removing anyone you don't want. And it goes away from our data. The same thing reflects here. So you can do that if that's what you want. You can also do it the way I've done it. But this one now makes things very easier for you. Like where you'll be adding, let's say from this, you want to have the total. You want to have the total. You should be writing a little code. And Excel, we are also going to be writing small code, not plenty. And you can actually write Excel. So we have, you can start writing, if you want, if you don't want that filter, that's exactly what you're supposed to have. From here, without writing any calculation, you already have your total. The table gives you the flexibility to just click around and have a total, have other stuff. So it's possible to do what you're asking. I don't know for others. So that answers your question, right?
Yes.
So how about others? All right. So we don't have questions. We should be calling it a day. We'll cycle back on Tuesday, Thursday or Friday. No, not Friday. Wednesday or Thursday. Hopefully, we'll cycle back to keep building on what we already know. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing you do for me, try and do exactly what we've done here.
I think
Except
it's
if you
better you
already
give us a practice question.
okay. So to do that, I want you to prepare exactly what we have, not with this figure. Okay. Now I want you to start with this figure. I'll copy this figure and send. We will be having a 7.5% increase. I want you to prepare the table we've prepared from December, January to December. Then our projected sale should be, let's have a projected sale. Like we are starting on January, we are starting with 70, or let's say 6,500 naira, not dollar. I'll write it and send. So we should have I'll just send it on the distance. So you guys can send PDFs just the way we did, formatted and printed a PDF by. So you guys can generate PDFs from your data sets and send. It's going to look different because the way I've colored mine is not going to be the way you color yours. So just avoid what I already have here. Do other ones. So I just send it between now and there. Send it on the WhatsApp group. Send it on the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
Then I also write some random values, some random figures, and do this formatting. You might not necessarily give this coloration, but format each of them. Right, for each of these, we have currency, percentage, dates, number, social security. You can even do way more because we have more lists there. They are all numbers. So text, just write a number, whatever number you want, but exactly that number, copy it over to this formatted, and tell me how you're formatting it as. Then let me see the presentation here too. So I'm going to screenshot this so that you guys will use it as a guide. So this is number one. The second one should be this. So, and each of them, if you can put them in different sheets, just the way we've done, that would be nice. So I need this kind of visualization. But starts with why are you not dropping? So you start with which figure should we start with? Uh, January. Let's have 1600 for January. Then percentage increase of let's have a let's have 7.2% increase monthly. So just do these two and we should be fine. Thank you. We'll meet if it's going to be on Wednesday, I'll let us know. But if it's going to be on Thursday, I'll also let us know before then.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
A wonderful night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.